Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan, alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's going on today, Lou?
Matt, I've got out my legal pad, my number 2 sharpened pencil, and I implore the audience to do the same, because today I will be the student and not the professor, because Bharat Kanodia, our guest, is going to teach us a skill, an asset, an understanding that is critical for every small business owner in America: valuation. There comes a time in every business, whether it's acquiring a competitor, expansion, maybe negotiating a buy-sell agreement, perhaps even a sale. You're getting a little long in the tooth, you do some estate planning. So valuations are so critical. So we found today the expert in business valuations, Bharat Kanodia, the founder of Veristrat, which is a company that advises not only startups, but companies that are, as I say, long in the tooth in conducting these valuations. So Bharat, welcome to the Liquid Lunch Project, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Matthew, Luigi. I look forward to the chat.
Bharat, I find this to be such an amorphous discussion. And I think a little bit of that is just my ignorance, because there are so many methodologies in evaluating a business. So kind of give us the keys. What are the metrics that you look to when evaluating a small to medium-sized business?
I tell people that valuation is a black box in a dark room, in a dark alley.
I love that.
And it is designed that way so that people like me can have job security. And if you really open that black box, it's very simple. Any company is worth whatever it is worth for 3 things: growth, profit, and risk. And if anybody were to tell you otherwise, call bullshit on it. And there are 3 and only 3 ways, or 3 primary ways, of valuing any company or any asset, so to speak. And again, if somebody tells you that no, there are 4 ways, there are 7 ways, there are 10 ways, again, call BS on it, because all those other methods are some form of derivative from these 3 primary methods. These 3 are like the primary colors, right? Everything else, all other colors are derived from these 3. So, and these 3 methods are: 1 is the income approach, which you might have heard of. Income approach is very simple. Is you're looking at the cash flow that business or that asset gives you over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're present valuing that cash flow to today. That's 1. Second method is how you would appraise houses, right? So say my neighbor's house was just sold for, say, $100, and my house looks exactly like my neighbor's house. So my house is probably worth around $100. Fairly simple, right? It's called the sales comparison approach, or a market approach. And the third way of valuing anything is, hey, what is it going to cost me to rebuild or recreate or construct this company or this asset from scratch? So again, 3 methods: income approach, market approach, and cost approach. Now, people have different nomenclatures for these approaches, right? Income approach, some people might call it the discount cash flow. Some people, for a market approach, some people might call it the comparable approach. So for the cost approach, some people might call it the asset approach or the book approach. That's all smoke and mirrors. There are 3 approaches, and always stick to the basics, and you will never go wrong. And the reason I have been able to value all these kinds of unique assets and interesting assets globally is because I never take my eyes off the basics.
Now, Bharat, how do you quantify that sacred term, goodwill? Is there such a thing when you are contemplating evaluation?
Goodwill is a pie in the sky. When somebody is unable to quantify why their business is worth whatever they say it's worth, and they cannot justify it on paper, they try to say, well, that's because of goodwill. And goodwill is, again, I mean, it's like if I were to tell you that, hey, go and smell a rose and now describe it to me, would you be able to describe it to me? Probably not. Goodwill is kind of like that. It's that smell of that rose. I'm not saying it's not worth anything. Yes, it is worth something, but it becomes hard to quantify. So, say if somebody paid $10 million for a business, and we can say that, okay, out of the 10 million, 2 million was intellectual property, 1 million was property, plant, and equipment, 1 million were customer contracts. So that's 4 million. What's the rest? Well, the remaining 6 million, which is unquantifiable, that's goodwill.
So, Bharat, let me give you a scenario, and it's a wild scenario. Okay, imagine Matt and I are two bridge builders. Okay, Matt builds a bridge on the East River that connects Queens to Manhattan, serves a utility. Okay, but my name is Roebling, and I built the Brooklyn Bridge. I tend to think the Brooklyn Bridge is a bit more artistic. I think maybe it has a little bit more goodwill. It's got that transcendent valuation. What makes my Brooklyn Bridge more valuable than the Meehan Bridge?
It's people's trust. Simple as that. I mean, there's no rocket science evaluation, guys. It's people's trust. I mean,
Bharat, I got to tell you, I am loving your transparency and frankness in this discussion. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's people's trust. Why do you put your photographs on Facebook and tell all your personal information to Facebook? I mean, if I were to ask you that, hey, Luigi, I'm starting a new social media channel, would you tell me all those things, personal things about you? You will say, no, fuck off. But you tell it to Facebook all the time, LinkedIn all the time. Why? Because you have that inbuilt trust. And how do you develop that trust? Because you see other people in your network, your friends and family, sharing that information about them. It's almost called the feedback loop, right? So the Brooklyn Bridge, and the reason you have trust in the Brooklyn Bridge, by the way, I have valued the Brooklyn Bridge. I have valued the Verrazano Bridge as well.
Really?
I have valued all the assets owned by the MTA in the city of New York, including the entire subway system, the 42nd Street station, the Grand Central Station, you name it.
And their underlying lack of goodwill among New York City inhabitants.
And goodwill is not something that happens overnight. Goodwill takes time. So many times you see, these new age designers come in, out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they pop like a bottle rocket, but then they also vaporize like a bottle rocket within a year, 2 years, 5 years. But companies like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, or what have you, and others have stuck around, Samsonite have stuck around for a long time because they have taken time to establish that goodwill. They have taken time to get to know their customers, and they have delivered repetitively, year over year, and done iterations in improving their product and their service, and help their customers over the years. I mean, I tend to fly United Airlines just because United is hub in San Francisco. Now, you don't think United has screwed up many times? God, I mean, if I can remember every time United has screwed up. But I mean, it's an airline. I mean, come on. I mean, it's a difficult business. There are so many things, so many variables you got to take care of. You are going to screw up once in a while. And that's the goodwill part, right? That's like, yeah, they screwed up. What are you going to do? You go to the next airline, you go to Delta, you go to another airline, they're all the same. They all are going to screw up at some point.
Bharat, you touched on something very important earlier. Help us distinguish the keys in valuation when we're dealing with a service-centered business. We're not creating anything. There's nothing to be sold. There's no tangible asset. How does a service business get?
Same thing. exactly the same thing. It's trust. It's people knowing that they're going to deliver whatever they say they're going to deliver. For example, yesterday, I'll tell you, I bought a mattress from Costco. I was having some back issues, so I ordered a mattress from Costco. Why did I go to Costco? I could have gone to another mattress store because Costco will take care of me. I know it's a product, right? But I went to Costco not because of their product, because that product is available every other place. But I pay $2,000 to Costco because it's Costco. I called them up and I said, "Hey, is this mattress good?" And the gal on the phone said, "Sir, the mattress you selected, we've had the least returns on that mattress. And if you don't like it, we're happy to pick it up back. No problem." That's why I went to Costco. If I don't like it, I just have to make a phone call. In a day or two, maybe 5 days, they'll come by and pick it up. And they took my old mattress away too. And the guys who came in, they were so nice. They, in fact, cleared out the bed. They took out all the cardboard and the packaging that came with the new mattress. I mean, I just tipped them $10. That's it. It's that trust that. And now, it's not that Costco hasn't screwed up. Yes, we all make a boo-boo once in a while, right? But generally, their service has been on point.
Now, Bharat, let's continue this line of discussion, right? But let's focus now on that key man small business. The John Smith dentist or the Jack Johnson chiropractor. When that lone wolf is the business, how do you evaluate that business? Because my understanding is, I take away Jack Smith from a dental practice, I have a couple of chairs.
This is really the Achilles heel when you're trying to sell a business with revenue under $10 million. Because generally, those businesses were built on the credibility and the goodwill, of one person, because it's always one entrepreneur, a founder. And then it, ripples from there. But, when you're under 10 million, it's mostly that one founder. And that's difficult. So when you are transacting a business that has revenue under 10 million, and most likely that business was developed because of the goodwill or credibility of that one founder, the buyers will insist on that founder sticking around for at least 1 to 5 years, right? Could be depending on the business. And depending on how good the founder is in transferring that goodwill from herself to the new buyer or the new CEO or the new management team, what have you. That's one thing. And the second, the business model also has to be set up so that that goodwill is easily transferable. Now, why do venture capitalists or private equity people love annual recurring revenue or monthly recurring revenue, right? Because you have the same customer writing you a check on a monthly, on a quarterly, or a yearly basis. That's an ideal. That's like almost rental income, right? And if as long as you don't screw things up, and as long as the customer is getting whatever they're getting, like, Netflix, I mean, I don't know, whatever, by $12-15 a month. As long as they don't screw things up, I mean, whenever I turn it on, it just comes on and I have something to watch. I don't really care. They keep charging my card, right? And that's what the value is. That's the trust. That's the ignorance, so to speak, of the customer that, yeah, go ahead, keep charging. Who cares? Once in a while, if I want it, it should be available. It's almost like insurance, right? You hope it's not, you never need it, but it's there if you do.
Bharat, give us some fun stories in the valuation of businesses. I mean, if you evaluated Brooklyn Bridge and the Verrazano Bridge, I'm sure you've got some wonderful war stories.
I'll tell you a story of the Verrazano Bridge. You guys are in New York?
Yeah. So I actually used to live on the foot of the Verrazano Bridge when I commuted into Wall Street every day. So I'd love to hear this one.
Where are you?
I'm in Manhattan.
You are.
I'm actually looking at the Verrazano Bridge right now.
The Verrazano Bridge is turquoise in color. When I was appraising the Verrazano Bridge, I frankly don't need to inspect the bridge. Okay. what am I going to say? Yeah, it looks good. It's going to hold up. I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, but I always do an inspection, put my hard hat, put the vest on, just because it makes the clients feel good. Frankly, that's the only reason. I don't need to go inspect the bridge. I'm not a civil engineer. I'm not looking at the bridge that, oh yeah, it's going to hold up. Oh yeah, this truss is faulty. Dude, I have no idea. I'm looking at it from a business perspective. But anyway, I always do an inspection just because it makes the clients feel good. So I do it. So I was inspecting the Verrazano Bridge. I got my hard hat on. I've got the vest on. I've got my cardboard thing, and I'm making notes. Pretending like I'm making notes. Like I have no idea. I'm writing bullshit because I've already done what I needed to do. This is just a
Dog and pony show.
Yeah, pony show. Clients feel good when you go do an hour inspection that, yeah, I inspected your bridge. It looks good. Every bridge, like the Verrazano Bridge, and Verrazano now is the largest suspension bridge in America. It's not the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, which I have also appraised, but it's the Verrazano Bridge. The Verrazano Bridge has a underdeck, which is used for maintenance, and other things. And that underdeck, when you were when I was inspecting, had a lot of debris, just because things keep falling off the decks, and that's why you have the underdeck, because they don't want that debris to be falling into the water below. So while I'm inspecting the underdeck, I see a lot of those rivets that are on the Verrazano Bridge. The turquoise color rivet that are holding the bridge together.
Probably was not instilling you with confidence.
Made me very nervous. And there was not one or two of them. There were literally the thousands of them scattered all over the bridge, all over the underdeck. And I asked my chaperone, I'm like, what's going on here? Is this normal? He's like, yeah, and it's normal. I'm like, okay, why? He's like, well, what happens is the bridge expands and contracts, and with the traffic vibrations, these rivets, they keep falling off, and we just take these rivets and keep putting them back on. That's just part of the maintenance process. I said, okay, all right, makes sense. Since there were thousands of them and I was this young punk, I said, hey, can I keep one of these? He said, oh yeah, sure, keep one. I don't care. Yeah, I got thousands of them. Who cares? It's not like we have an inventory. So I said, okay, no big deal. So I take one and I put it in my pocket. No big deal. 3 days later, I'm going through LaGuardia. And this I'm talking 2002, 2003. Now, to remind you guys, this is a brown guy going through LaGuardia in 2003. Okay. So I'm standing in security check line, and no big deal, right? I'm standing in security check line and put my bag in, and this lady yells out, whose bag is this? I'm like, it's mine. Can you come aside, sir? And she's like, what do you have in your bag? I'm like, I don't know, personal effects, laptop, things like that. She's like, do you have a bolt in your bag? And she's this big black woman, right? And I'm like, no, I don't have a bolt in my bag. Why would I have a bolt in my bag? I'm not a construction worker. Why would I have a bolt in my bag? I'm being a little smug myself. And she goes, can I take a look? I'm like, sure. She puts her gloves on, goes into the bag, and pulls out, boom. What is this? Of course, that's the rivet from the Verrazano Bridge. And I'm like, fuck. I just like, it's like one of those things, like that from movie Jaws. I saw that background just shift behind me. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to throw my ass in jail. And now I'm backpedaling. I'm like,
I hope you didn't tell her it was part of the Verrazano Bridge, because then you were really going away.
No, I did. I had to. You got to come clean at these things, right? I'm like, look, I'm an appraiser. I was inspecting the Verrazano Bridge, and the inspector told me that these rivets keep falling off, and I'm just backpedaling at this time, just trying to skip my life. And she's not having any of it. She's looking at me, yeah, yeah, I'm like, oh shit. And then she goes, all right, go. Literally, she keeps the bolt. All right, go. I'm guessing she's probably thinking that no one is going to come up with a story like this. It's like, okay, this guy has got to be legit.
That's like one of those. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you down the block. That old joke. Oh, that's funny. Hey, Bharat, you valued a lot of things, and you valued a lot of huge businesses too, like Uber and Roku and Airbnb. But I do have a question, and it's always fascinated me, right? And you being in the Silicon Valley area, how do you value these startups, right? That have no revenue and are just getting started out. I'd love to learn more about that.
That's a good question, because startups, they never have a profit, and they're lucky if they have a product or revenue. Yet they need to attract customers, investors, and employees. And how do they do that? They do that by using a made up currency, a pie in the sky, if you will, called valuations. By telling people that, hey, we're worth so much, look how awesome we are, while they have zero revenue. How? Again, it is all based on followership and trust. When Twitter went public, they had revenue, but they had no profit. How can a company that has no profit go public? I mean, now we almost have accepted it. 15, 20 years ago, that was unheard of. It's like, wait a second. You know, how's that even possible?
Bharat, I'll take it even a step further. It's taken as a given when startups have no profit, let alone revenue.
Yes. And it has really come down to momentum of trust, momentum of adding more people to the pie, adding more people to the system, adding more employees, adding more customers, adding more users, adding more traffic, adding more investors, adding more cool people to the board, adding Ryan Reynolds to the mix, adding some guy from Wall Street who's on board of so and so to the mix. Hey, we've got like Toronto's, right? Their whole story was, we've got this board member from Johns Hopkins on our board, so of course we got to be going places. We've got Mark Andreessen investing in our company, so we got to be going places. Meanwhile, you have zero revenue, you have zero profit, you don't even have a product. But that's irrelevant. You're worth $10 billion. Whoa, it's got to be something.
So it's kind of like you're buying into the credibility of the management team, and how much do you believe that they can execute on the vision that they have? But the only way for them to execute on the vision is start this frenzy where everybody wants to get involved. Therefore, it's a false reality until they actually execute, I would believe.
But when you churn milk, you got to keep churning. But you don't know how long you got to churn until you make butter. So that's all these people are doing. They're just churning the milk. They don't know when they'll make butter, but they know it will make butter at some point. So all they're doing is they're churning the milk, the faster, and they hope that the clock won't run out. In Toronto's case, just the clock ran out.
So there's all these big valuations going to Series A, Series B, but I think the market that we're in and the economy that we're in, we're going to see some down rounds coming in. How have you ever valued a company and told investors not to get involved with it because you thought it was worth less than the last round?
People talk about WeWork, and especially since that new movie came out. By the way, I haven't seen the movie. But I don't need to see the movie, because when the WeWork debacle happened, I was in the room. My client was one of the investors in WeWork, and their CFO said that, hey, they're investing in this thing for $47 billion. I, in my smugness, made a comment that, isn't WeWork just a sexier version of Regis Space? And Regis Space trades at this multiple. Why is WeWork worth so much? The CFO of that investment firm looked at me like she wanted to eat me alive. Of course, I said I made my peace and I kept my mouth shut. I said, okay, hey, if you think it's worth $47 billion, you're the one writing the check. 3 months later, that 47 became 12. And I was in the room when they took that write down. I kept my mouth shut, because I didn't need to say anything else. That CFO just kept looking at me sideways, waiting for me to say something, waiting for me to say, I told you so. But I didn't. It was not my place to say. I'm just a valuation guy. You guys are the ones writing the check. You're the one who took the write down when I told you not to. This now is not the time for me to speak. My time was 3 months ago when you didn't listen to me. So yes, I have seen many down rounds, and the venture capital is designed in a way that they have to keep raising capital. They have to keep doubling the valuation for them to make money, and they're all in this together. It's almost like racketeering. It's no less than almost a Ponzi scheme, except so far a lot of their bets have worked out. But it just takes one recession to, as Warren Buffett says, right? You just have to wait for the tide to wash out until you know who's swimming naked. And the thing is, the funny part is, it's no longer private money, right? Venture capital, we all think it's all private money. It's private investors. No, bullshit. Where do the venture capitalists get their money from? Public companies, mutual funds, hedge funds, pension funds. This is public money. This is all public money in the veil of private money.
I'm interested, right? Because when you look at things, you look at, the income approach, the sales approach, and the cost approach that we looked at, right? But how about your personal investment thesis? Is it hard for you to invest in the stock market or invest in other asset classes if you don't see the value there?
I only invest in businesses that give me dividends, or they give me cash flow.
Okay, so it's cash flow based.
That's my philosophy. My thing is, if I invest $10 in a company, why do I have to sell that stock, or why do I have to sell that company to make money on it? To me, that's mind-boggling. I don't get it. I only invest in assets that give me dividends and cash flow.
I like that. I'm a big believer in cash flow based assets as well.
If they don't give you cash flow, then it's just a pie in the sky. I have to sell it to make money. Well, that's bullshit. I don't buy that.
So how about real estate? So you like cash flow from real estate?
Cash flow from real estate, dividends, those are the kind of investments I make.
Awesome.
Because, if I had invested in Zoom 2.5 years ago, my money would have been 10x, but it could have also have been 0.
Well, I got to believe out in the Bay Area, you come across a lot of opportunities too, right?
Well, my whole thing is, when people start talking about the stock market or real estate at dinner table, take your money and run.
We used to have a saying on Wall Street: when the fireman and the police officer are giving you IPO stock tips, it's time to go. And nothing bad about them. It's just you're usually in the tail end of over rational exuberance in the marketplace, right? That you see it on the news all the time.
Yeah, same thing. It's the same analogy. When people start talking about stocks or stock picking at dinner table or during a barbecue, I bought this and it went up so much. Like, boy, okay. Yeah.
They never tell you about their losses, though. I always notice that as well. You've done so much. You've valued so many things, whether it be from, almost all of New York City to some huge companies. Let me ask you this. What's next for you? Where's 2.0 for you, Bharat?
I'm not done with 1.0.
Okay.
I'm still having fun. It's a pretty good gig. People are kind to me. I'm still having fun. I'm still working on version 1.
Nice.
I've version 1.5, 1.6, but version 1.
That St. Louis Arch is coming up.
Yeah. So people have been kind. I have a YouTube video channel. I enjoy educating people on valuations. So it's been great.
So Bharat, where can our clients and audience and friends get some useful tools in evaluating their businesses and enterprises?
I have a YouTube channel called What's It Worth. I have shared the link with you. And in that YouTube channel, what I've done is I've broken it down to about 35 different types of businesses: a CPA practice, an e-commerce company, a SaaS company, a general contractor, different types of businesses. And I've talked about that, hey, if you were to call me as an appraiser, this is how I would evaluate your company. So whichever company you own, if you're running a SaaS company or if you're running a CPA practice, go watch one of my videos. They're a 5-minute short video. It tells you what's really important when you consider valuations in your industry or in your company.
I'm definitely going to check that out because me and Luigi are actually looking to purchase some other companies coming up very shortly. So we might be on the phone with you, and we're definitely watching the YouTube page. So
yeah, my videos are short. I believe in what Mark Twain said. I did not have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead. So my videos are short. I don't have time. I mean, it's easier for me, frankly, to do a 45-minute video and keep rambling on and on and on. But it's more difficult to create a concise video because you really got to distill your thoughts.
With that being said, we really appreciate you being here. We want to be respectful of your time as well with us. But I do have one question for you before I let you run. Can you describe yourself in one word for us?
Original. I come up with my own ideas. I don't copy. People copy me, which I find very flattering, which is very nice. But I come up with my ideas. Some are good, some are bad, but nevertheless, they're mine.
Well, I can tell you you're original because I'd never met somebody that actually valued bridges before. So we appreciate you being here. Guys, that's a wrap of the Liquid Lunch Project. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.